I recently re-uploaded some videos, and it was some older videos and some late responses, you might as well say, about relationship that we as fathers have with our sons, and it's pretty much a very interesting subject that I think we as men in general need to focus on a daily basis within ourselves. And if you can find a group of brothers who have sons, then it would be helpful for our relationship with our sons to try to group up like once a week or so, and sometimes even with your sons, and try to get an open and honest conversation, on our relationships with our sons, and even to be able to ask our sons of um, their perception and their insights on us being fathers, because sometimes, and actually a lot of times, you will find yourself surprised at um, how our sons can give us insight into how to be better fathers. You know, because a lot of times these days, a lot of our young men are coming up under the light of a whole lot of these celebrity fathers, and they fall victim of thinking that what they see on social media and on these other platforms, like actors and singers, and all of these different areas of communication, you might as well say, and influence regarding the social engineering thing. A lot of our young men are going around thinking that this is exactly the way it's supposed to be, even though they're looking at actors performing, which I can, me personally, I I call most actors nothing but professional liars. Even though they are performing things that are based upon reality, they are in fact not reality. And you will find a whole lot of our young men leaning more so on the side of the actors, thinking that that's the reality, than being able to deal with reality and improve that to the degree that they'll be able to understand the fact of what father and son is. And as we continue to communicate on that level, our sons will be able to understand that when they're looking at these shows and these hip hop artists and all of that, they will come to truly understand that these are just actors, because I have a different and more stable and more realistic um, relationship with my father. And so I'm very, I would say, interested and compassionate about our relationship with our children. I'm very serious about that, and I cover that a lot, and there's a very good chance I'm going to be covering it some more. So those of you who find those videos offensive, or anything else, just you don't have to be here. I mean, you can move on, to another YouTube channel where you are better, um, where you're better interested, because I'm not trying to become famous or anything like that. I mean, of course, just like any other person who consider themselves a quote unquote YouTuber, of course, I would like my videos to go out a little bit more. But as YouTube was explaining to me, and my brother Josh in Dallas, Texas, they was telling me, as I say again, that it would be better for my YouTube channel to gain more viewers if I would title my videos a little bit more effectively and not non-personal. But I need to get back to a subject that I was talking about not too long ago, and that was, and I got kind of sidetracked by other subjects, but the the issue and concern of the Christian and church community, regardless if it's Methodist or Baptist or anything like that, to step out into the community amongst the people who are considered by their Bible the lost sheep, and bring their message to the lost sheep. And not all preachers are going to bring the proper message, because there's a whole lot of pastors out there that are really there becoming pastors because these guys just can't no longer find jobs. And so a lot of these pastors are just a bunch of con men, and they're slick talkers, and they're colorful guys, and so they just open up churches in order to feed themselves, and that's just a fact. But there are some pastors on the West Side. One I know in particular is the only pastor that I will listen to now, and he goes under the name Pastor Slack. Believe it or not, I know that a lot of people's titles, last names are very revealing, like Creflo's Dollar, and all he cares about is money. There's a pastor on the West Side at Victory Missionary Baptist Church. He goes by the name of Pastor Fowler, and he is foul, very foul. Yes, I'm saying that about you. And so, it's just a whole lot of pastors that have platforms on the West Side that could really invest themselves in the community and make that community a whole lot more productive than it is currently. And so I'm campaigning to any brother or sister who are interested in doing something on that West Side to make the community better. Whether you are interested in speaking to the young brothers, the young sisters over there, because I want to, we're talking about having a group of women who are willing to go out to talk to young ladies about the dress code, and and help them understand the distinction of being a woman and being a lady. And the same as we need men who are willing to go out there to help these young brothers understand that the dress code that has been implemented by a whole lot of these hip hop artists is improper. And instead of criticizing these young brothers about them having their pants almost below their backsides, instead of you can condemn it, but don't condemn them along with their dress code. And if you look at the way that Yeshua had approached the problem, like say when the young man was suffering, the anger, when his father told Yeshua that he feels as though he was possessed by a demon or something like that. Yeshua spoke to the spirit that was within him, and he made the spirit leave. And so this is what a whole lot of people don't understand. And it's not as Hollywood has professed it, as though Yeshua was like this magician, and he just told this evil spirit, leave him. No. it wasn't like that, now people may say, well, how do you know that you wasn't there, and so you didn't see it, and blah blah blah. You know how y'all get. How the hell do he know? Because one night I talked to some gang members, and I sat down with 6 Bloods, and I talked with them for 6 hours. It was just myself and 6 of them in a living room on a street out here called Bonanza. And I was up in there, and I sat down and I talked to these young men. But before I said anything, I listened to them. I listened to them. And then as they all started to feel comfortable talking with me, the things that I noticed, I started asking them questions towards those issues. And as I asked them questions toward those particular issues, each one had a wall up around it. And as I gently and humbly chiseled at the wall with love, humility, and delicacy, and intelligence and wisdom, all of those walls started coming down. And what was revealed to me, that the majority of the walls that came down, all of these young men had father issues. Some of them had mother issues, and the ones that were with their mothers, who were considered single mothers, those were the ones that I had realized were very physically violent towards young women and verbally violent towards young women, in regards to not having any respect for them. And so what they found out, that their psychological and emotional issues were not those who didn't bear the same colors that they bear, as far as the Crips are concerned. There's a lot of young men out here just fighting and killing each other over a color, and I'm not going to go over anything that we all already know, because we've been seeing this for a long time. But as you continue to talk to these young men, and once you can gain their confidence in you, they will become content, and they'll feel comfortable to open up to you. And then once they open up to you, each and every one of them, everybody in that room will have very similar issues. And those similarities is what brought all of them together. And then as you go around and talk to all of them individually, they will find out that a lot of them have not only similar issues, but simply because of those similar issues, the oneness of the mind and emotions come together, and that's what creates the gangs. And a whole lot of them are suffering with a lot of anger, because there's a whole lot of things going on in their environment and in their homes that they just don't understand. A whole lot of the women, yes, y'all, have lied to these young men. And a lot of these young men feel as though their fathers don't love them. But if you continue to talk to these young men and you understand what created them, then you're able to counsel them and build them back up after the environment has torn them down. And when what is revealed to them is the reason why they're thinking is the way their thinking is, their feelings, and etc. And then after you help them realize the error of their ways, then you begin to instruct upon them each one of the better ways that they should carry themselves, and therefore the proper direction for each and one of them to go in. And as time goes on, they gain confidence in your guidance. And as you give each and every one of them your phone number, they'll eventually start calling you, as they used to do to me, at night, at work, and I would always make certain that I made time for them. Even when I was at work, I would go in a restroom to talk to these young men. See, because once you gain their attention, and then you gain their confidence, and they know that you're not there to tear them down, but to help build them up, and you go around and you ask each and one of them their birth name and reject their gang name, and don't allow them to chop their names in half. Because I had one I had met. He called him, I asked him what his name was, and he said his name was X. I said, no, what's your name? He said, my name is X. I said, what did your mother name you? And he said, my name is Xavier. I said, okay, that's the name that I'm going to address you as. Because you have to bring them back to who they are and what they were, and address what they are currently. And then once they are back to knowing the better part of themselves, they'll be able to have that insight to where they will be able to not only look back and see who they were, they will eventually understand that the person who they thought is dead in the past, that person still exists. And so through your counseling and through their proper listening, they will be able to understand that they were much more happier, much more content, and much more reasonable being themselves and not what the environment has created of them. This is one of the reasons why I would never back up from campaigning towards what needs to be done on that west side, as well as North Las Vegas. North Las Vegas as well, because when I was speaking, the message had started filtering over to North Las Vegas because of me knowing pastors in the North Las Vegas area. And so, as I said, you just have to listen to them in order for you to help them. And you can't condemn them and say you're trying to help them at the same time. You can't condemn what's ruling them inside and condemn them as well. You have to condemn what's ruling them intellectually, emotionally, and not condemn them along with their present condition in terms of where their minds are. You have to help them understand the errors of their ways and where these ways are going to lead them. And then you have to deal with the young men who don't really care about going to prison, because those guys are out there too. And you have to understand that if you don't help these young men understand that that way of thinking is suicidal, then they'll keep going. And so that's where you help them understand how very important self-love is. So there's a lot of work over there. And there's a whole lot of work in this world across not only our community, but various communities. We have to look out for our youth. It's time for us to get our youth back on track. It's time for us to understand and be realistic and just accept the fact that our youth don't have childhoods anymore. They don't. I mean, look at our young ladies. Look at what's going on with them. I've seen some young ladies at 13 years old pregnant. my job out here every night as an armed security guard, working the street out here called Boulder Highway, where there's a whole lot of um, young ladies out there that are selling their bodies all night because I work 10 to 6. I see it all night. There's one out there that's 13 years old right now. She's out there selling her body. And I would ask her, where are your parents? You know? And this young lady tells me, they don't care what I do. They don't care what I do. And I asked her, I'm saying, is it that they don't care what you do? Or is it that they just don't know what you're doing? She said, they don't care what I do, so I do whatever I want to do. Now here's a little 13-year-old black girl, and it really doesn't matter what race she is, but she tells me she's grown. I had one that I used to pick up and drop her off at school when I was driving the bus over there on the west side. And she looked a whole lot like the singer Monica. One night when I was working at the Wynn outside a club over there, right in the middle of where you come through the Wynn, there's a long hallway that leads you to the other casino called the Encore. But in the middle of that hallway is a club called the SX. Now, I'm not giving you this information for you to go there. I'm just telling you where this transpired. But one night, her name is Erica. Erica, who looks a lot like the singer Monica, was walking with another young lady that I didn't know who looked like Beyonce. And so a whole lot of these young ladies will capitalize off of their likeness of these celebrities in order to sell their bodies, to give these men the fantasy of them sleeping with their favorite celebrity singer. You know how it goes. I don't really need to explain it. But I was standing up there talking to my former supervisor, Maggie, and they were walking towards us. And all of a sudden I heard someone say, hey, David, David. And my supervisor, Maggie, had pointed to them. And Erica came up to me. And the last time I saw Erica was 12 years old. And Erica was 17. And she came up to me, she said, you know, and I looked at her and I said, Erica? She said, yeah. And she gave me a big hug and everything. And so I was like, what are you doing out here? She said, I'm out here making my money. I'm out here making my money. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, David, you know what I'm talking about. She said, this is Vegas, baby. And I'm like, oh, wow. I said, I used to take you to school every morning. And so as the conversation went on, what shocked me was a statement that she said. And she said that she had, you know, because I asked her, I said, why don't you just get you a job somewhere? You know, you can make a whole lot of money out here in Las Vegas. She said, David, why should I have to work 8 hours a day, the whole week? And she said, when I'm out here making $1,000 to $15,000 to $1,500 a night, or every 2 nights. She said, I have a cash register between my legs. She told me that. That blew me away. And, you know, and she introduced me to her friend that looked like Beyonce and everything. And she's thanked me, you know, for being so sweet to her and nice to her and everything. And I asked her, I said, are you good with the way you living? She said it's easy for her because she said she not only enjoy the money that she makes, she said, but she enjoys the sex. She said she likes the sex. She said, I like the way it feels and everything, you know, and she went all into that. So a lot of people are also enslaved by way of their own lust and their passions for certain things, you know. So we have a whole lot of things out here that we can get caught up in that will eventually have a tendency to lead us to our demise, and that's one of the reasons why we have to die to certain things. And so when you're going into the killing fields, you have to be able to talk to these young people, and you have to love them. And they don't have to be your children biologically for them to be your children. Because if you don't understand clearly who your children are, you won't be able to perform the work. So it's unfortunate that we have failed them to the degree that they're out there doing all of these things. So the whole thing is, a lot of people say the way you beat up on religion, and yet and still you think that the church can actually save these people. See, everything is based upon understanding the message effectively. See, now when you go out there, you have to understand the man's message entirely. And love is first. You must love the people. You have to love them. And not only emotionally, but intellectually. And there is such a thing. You have to love them. And that's just it. You must love them. And as I said before in another video that I spoke on this, if these people are lost, they will not be able to find you. Not only physically, but intellectually, mentally. And a whole lot of reasons why these people are lost intellectually is because when they did come to the churches betrayed them by condemning them or violating them in some shape, form, or fashion. Because there was a couple of young men who used to drive my bus, and I asked them, why don't y'all attend some of the churches around here? And so they was telling me, as soon as they see that our pants are sagging, they put us out. They condemn us and they put us back into the killing field. And then sometimes a whole lot of the pastors that actually do that are the ones that be wanting to speak at these young men's funeral. And to me, that's a disgrace, because you helped put that young man in that casket when he came to you, and you pushed him back out into the killing fields simply because of the way that the culture has dressed him to be. And by not having a father at home that would tell him, son, pull your pants up. That's not the way you should wear your pants. That's not being a gentleman. I mean, everybody can look at you and tell you're a man, but be a gentleman. And a gentleman itself dresses properly. He doesn't walk around with his backside showing. And a lot of these young men don't have those male images at home or those male influences at home. And so as they move forward, they feel as though there's nothing wrong, because no one in their environment is telling them that that is improper. And they're surrounded by a whole lot of young men who dress and act accordingly. And when you are a person who's coming up in a certain culture to where everyone is wearing the same thing, it becomes the norm in terms of the dress code within that culture. And so it takes those who say that they are men and women and children of God to understand that this is improper, and this culture and this way of thinking and acting is suicidal for our youth, as well as it is suicidal for ourselves, because we are acting irresponsible by not responding adequately to what's right in front of our face. As I've been trying to tell the pastors, you just can't go out there and quote scriptures, and these scriptures are supposed to miraculously, in a metamorphosis type manner, and just automatically change these children. You have to talk to them. You have to help them understand, not convince them. You have to help them understand the path that they're going down, so that they will see the dangers of it, and that's the only way that they are going to turn around. Now, I said previously that, and this is based upon what is in the scriptures, that who's going to be judged and dealt with first? It's not the governments of the planet. It's going to be those who say that they are the children of the Most High. It's going to be the church. And a lot of what I just said previously is the reason why the Creator is going to deal with you first. And see, we all know the destructive effect that the governments of the world have put on this beautiful planet. But what the Creator is most concerned of are the souls of the people. And so what a lot of these pastors don't understand is that they have the most important task upon this earth. It's not a job, it's a moral task. When you become a pastor, your church is not the four walls that you reside in every week and every Sunday. The entire earth becomes your church. You're responsible just not for the people around you. You become responsible for every single living human being upon this planet, no matter where you are. This is the reason why Yahshua told his disciples to go to the four corners of the planet and speak the gospel. And he's not talking about doctrine, repeating what someone else says. It has everything to do with perception, according to the environment and according to the very moment that is before you. As he said, go and observe all things, and the message and God, the Creator, the Spirit of the Creator will be with you. Wisdom, intelligence, observation, not speaking into what you're observing, but observing implies looking at something and not trying to figure it out, but observing something and allowing it to reveal the problem to you. And when divine perception is given to you, you are able to speak, and you are able to receive insight into the problem. And that's the only way that you will be able to resolve that problem. And in the process, you're creating the kingdom of heaven on earth, in that particular area of the earth. This is why it's so important for the pastors to understand the scriptures effectively and precisely. Now, going back to the Creator, reason why. Now, if you want to not be the one that is judged first and dealt with first, there's a scripture in there that is very common to all of us as human beings, whether you religious or not. However, this is a message to you. It says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, only then will I hear from heaven, forgive your sins, and heal the land. There's a lot of wicked ways going on in the church, and I don't even have to go down the list because you know, a lot of us know what's going on in the church, but you have to turn from that. So you're given a chance to redeem yourself. That's what it's about. I want the church to redeem itself. A lot of people want this, and it's gotten to the point to where a lot of people don't think that is possible, but it's right there in the scriptures, and you pastors know that you can redeem yourself the same way Jesus told everybody, go and sin no more. It's equivalent. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. You have to do it yourself. That scripture is not talking about helping you. That's the Creator telling all of us, you do your part, and when you do it honestly, then I'll step in. And I will send the Spirit of truth to guide you into all truth. And that's the only way that peace is going to manifest on this planet as it is in a place, the highest way of existing, which is called heaven. That's the only way that it's going to exist. So that's what the campaign is about. The campaign is about getting the church involved in the community effectively and honestly, without asking for anything, without expecting anything. You just have to love the people in order to help them. If you don't love them, you can't help them. If you condemn them, you can't help them, because you can't help what you have already condemned. You can't do it. You can't. You condemn their actions and help them understand how very self-destructive it is. But you can't condemn those along with what you can't condemn the people along with what has them enslaved. You can't condemn the human being. You just condemn the actions and what's helping them destroy themselves. So there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done, and I just wanted to get back to addressing that so that I can move forward with other subjects. Now, there's going to be some people that are going to be joining me pretty soon, and I'm going to be joining them to talk about a whole lot of issues that are going on in people's lives, and a lot of us are going to be sharing our experiences of certain things that's going on and certain things that went down in our lives. You know, a lot of people are starting to open up, you know, because it's a form of counseling for all of us. And even though it's a form of counseling for all of us, there could be something that I'm talking about on here in one of my videos that'll be a tool of counseling for you. The same as I look at a whole lot of platforms like Lapeef Let's Talk, Crimson Cure, and Brother Kevin Samuels, rest in peace. Sweet Little Lies, you know, Angry Man, all of these brilliant, beautiful people. I've learned a lot from them, you know, and um, 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 we all have something inside that we can assist one another with. We all have that healing power within ourselves to help each other heal. So I'm calling on brothers and sisters who are interested in helping, spending time in the community to help the community grow in moral standards and to deal with the effects of this current culture that are leading our children and our teenagers and our men and even our middle-aged men astray and further into the darkness that we're already dealing with each and every day. And one more thing I wanted to share to confirm this, not too long ago, I was invited again down to the Nation of Islam by my brother Wesley. And so I went down there and I was told that by another brother that the guy who I was having problems with, Brother Gerald's no longer present down there because he was considered a spirit killer down there, a spirit crusher or something like that. I think they said a spiritual killer or something like that. And so, you have people like that even in the church. It's just that there's no point of having all of this information if you're not going to help do something with it that's going to help the world. And so it was a beautiful time with the Nation of Islam, and it was good to finally go down there and listen to the message. And it was a lot of brothers that was asking me where I've been. There's just, some brothers asking me to go ahead through the process and go ahead and get your ex and everything. But I can only be a friend to the Nation of Islam, and that's pretty much it, because I know that my purpose is a more flexible thing. So, okay, I think this video's been long enough. And so I thank you for listening. And everyone have a good night. Peace.